Hello and thank you for watching. This next video is about the elevator pushrod and how to get that in the airplane and tested correctly. On page 11 of the instruction manual it says do everything like you did the rudder, but there's a little more to it than that. So I'm going to go through that, but I'm going to splice in a clip here that'll be self-explanatory. Watch this. So this is one of my test videos to show that the rudder and the elevator servo are not going to interfere with one another. Okay. So that can move all at once. If I go this way, should not be a problem in any direction for the elevator. And this is just obviously a test piece of Z-bend that is there just to see that everything is going to be copacetic. Okay, so as you saw in that clip, the elevator and the rudder push rod, the way we have selected the arms and the connectors and so forth, will not interfere with one another, so we can go ahead and install the elevator push rod. So those are the kind of little things that I do before I decide to finalize an installation. Is I like to do tests like that just to make sure things are working. So with that said, we'll start with the elevator pushrod install. Okay, I'm behind the camera here again, and for the elevator pushrod install, we're going to need all the following things that you see in front of you here. First, I've got the elevator the elevator servo has the blue arm on it, and at the end of the arm, that servo arm has been drilled out for the Z-bend. Have the receiver and battery and switch and all. The packet of screws is now 8 screws, so we'll install all 8 screws at the end of this for both the rudder and elevator servo. Got another small wooden wedge, basically the same size and shape, to wedge the elevator servo in. Have my forceps, have my precision screwdriver, have my battery operated precision screwdriver, have my tweezers, have my linesman pliers to cut off the Z-bend after it's made. Got my gold Sharpie to mark it. Got my ruler. Got my Z-bending tool. The flat bladed screwdriver to take the clevis on and off. Got my homemade little jig here to keep the elevator straight, and as I think I said before, this is about 14 inches long, 2 pieces of balsa and with rubber bands at both ends. Have the clevis, have the nut for the clevis, have the push rod for the elevator, which has the threads at one end. And also obviously I've got the radio. So with that said, we'll get started. Okay, looking inside the cabin, the installation of this elevator push rod is critical because it does have a Z-bend, and if you screw that Z-bend up, you're going to have another one. So I did a dry run, and this installation requires 21 steps, and I'll go through them one at a time here. So the first thing to do is install the elevator push rod, and so that's going to go right in that little tube right there. And it'll come all the way out the far end of the airplane, nothing stopping it. And the next thing to do is to install the clevis. Okay, back at the tail of the airplane, I got the airplane upside down on the stand, which is very nice. It's one of the reasons I like the stand is you can put the airplane in any direction. First I'm going to do is put this nut on and get the nut close to the end of the threads here. Oops, didn't mean to kick the camera. There we go. I won't kick the camera. And I'll work from over here. So the clevis does have the fuel tubing on it, so we'll put that on. Sorry, I'm right-handed, so that means my hand is going to be in the way here for a second. And you do want to do these carefully because these are fine threads, and so don't cross-thread them. If it doesn't feels hard to put on, then it probably is cross-threaded. So I'm going to try to make sure that the threads on this end and the threads inside the clevis here are about the same length, and we're not going to put that on just yet. Because we got a couple other things to do first. Okay, alright, the next step is to install the elevator servo. It's marked elevator servo. There it is, elevator servo. And that goes in there. And I grab it with my trusty forceps. And you drop it with the trusty forceps. Okay. And put this in, drop that right in there. And the next step will be to put the wedge in. Now, if you recall, we want the this servo all the way to the top. I'm just going to move it forward with the forceps and drop the wedge in. Okay. Pushing the wedge all the way down in so it holds it good and tight. Okay, and that way that servo is all the way to the right side of the airplane, and the wedge is down far enough that it won't interfere with the movement of the arm. Okay, then the next step will be to go ahead and attach both the servos to the receiver. So I've got the receiver here. This is the elevator I'm attaching first. Black end to the back. And the elevator servo is now attached. And I want to go ahead and attach the rudder servo because I want to make sure that we can move both of them and everything is okay. So the rudder servo, black wire to the back, is installed and down nice and tight. So all those servo leads should line up nice and straight. Okay, so now we're going to turn on the radio, let it warm up, and it's now on and the little orange light is shining. I'm going to turn on the receiver, get the on switch here, turn it on, and the receiver is shining nice and bright. And we're just going to test the elevator. If I pull the elevator back, the stick back, the elevator arm goes to the rear of the aircraft, which would push the elevator up, which would make the aircraft climb, and that's what we want. So it's going in the right direction. Forward would pull the elevator down and make the airplane go down. So that's going good, and as you can see, there's no interference between either of those. So that looks good. Okay, I'm back here again at the tail of the aircraft. I got the aircraft upside down to make it easier for me to do and you to see. And those wedges are holding the servos in place in the servo tray. So now what we got to do is attach the clevis to the control horn here. Okay, that's in place, and we won't do anything with the fuel tubing now. We'll do it later. And next thing I'm going to do is turn the aircraft back over. Let's see, turn it this way. Okay. And that's so that I can install our little jig. Airplane moved on me and didn't expect it to. So here's the jig. I'm gonna put the jig on, and again I'm gonna have that small end of the jig up here up against the elevator. So that's up against the elevator. That'll hold the elevator nice and straight. And so now that the elevator is nice and straight, we can mark where the Z-bend will need to go. Okay, back inside the cabin here, I'm just going to touch the elevator a little bit, show you that the arm is centered. The arm looks 90 degrees this way too, and the push rod is sitting on top where I can mark it. So now I want to mark this with my gold Sharpie marker. There it is. The gold Sharpie marker is right where the hole is. That's good. And as I said before, the threads on the clevis of this push rod are centered, so we have a small adjustment either way. But so if the Z-bend is slightly off, which can sometimes happen, then we can do a small adjustment with the clevis. So the next step will be to pull the undo the clevis and pull the rod out. Actually, the next step actually is not that. I'm looking at my checklist here. So I've marked it. So actually the next step is to remove the jig. So jig is now removed. Okay, so back to the rear of the airplane, I'm going to remove the clevis. I'm going to pull the push rod all the way out, and the next thing will be is to put the Z-bend in. Okay, we're ready to make the Z-bend with my Great Plains Z-bending tool. I like to do it from the other side because I'll show you why. You can see, let me see here, right there is the mark. If you open up the pliers, you want that gold mark to be right where the first part of the bend will be. I'm going to get that in the right spot, and you can see the gold mark, and you can see that it's right where the first, where'd it go? Right there. Right where the first part of the Z will be. And so we are ready to make a Z-bend. And it's made, and you can see that let me get it focused here. Okay, you can see that the gold mark is right there at the beginning of the Z-bend. So now that we got the Z-bend made, I'm going to mark about a 1/4 inch and cut the rest off. So you want to leave enough to stick it in, but not too much to for it to get in the way of anything. So I'm going to make that 1/4 inch mark right there in my lineman's pliers and squeeze pretty hard. And if my lineman's pliers weren't 30 years old, they probably would be sharper down at the bottom there. But it's good enough. It broke off just fine. Okay, now that we've got the Z-bend on one end, we're going to have to remove the clevis and the nut. And I'm going to remove the nut over my table where the towel is on, so the nut doesn't fall on the floor. And I'm going to use the put the push rod with the threads on it, because you can't put the Z-bend through here. And oh, by the way, don't cut off the threads on the short side. You ought to make sure the Z-bend is on the other end. So I'm going to put this in all the way here. Okay. And then the next step is to put the nut and the clevis back on. I'm going to do that off camera. So now I'm going to put the clevis and the nut back on the other end. You've seen me do that before. I'll do it off camera. Okay, you can see the Z-bend there. How you get the Z-bend on is to remove this blue arm. Because the radio and receiver are on, the blue arm won't move very much. I'm going to have to be very careful here, because the you don't want to lose the nut, the screw, or the washer that goes with it. So there's the screw. And with a pair of tweezers, I'm going to grab that washer. And he does it with the first time. And okay, so now we'll pull that blue arm off. Sorry for my fingers being in the way. There we go. So now, with the blue arm off, I'm going to insert the Z-bend from the top. And that means the Z-bend will be down when you put the arm on. Okay. Now you got to line that up. It's not the easiest thing to do. Put the Z-bend right at 90 and press that arm in place. Well, I said it wasn't easy, didn't I? Go. So now you can see the Z-bend is in place. The arm is where it was before. Okay, show that a little bit of light. So the Z-bend is in place, goes in and down and out, and the arm is where it was before at 90 degrees. And we'll move the elevator sure it's in a good spot. And then we'll see if I can put this washer back in place. I like to put the washer in first just because I find it easier to do it that way. So I'm going to drop the washer right there. Oop, and it fell in a hole. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, I've got an old screwdriver I've had for a long time. It's got a little magnet on the end, a little flat blade on the other end, and that little magnet has collected many a screw and washer. So let's see if we can do this again. Put the washer in the tweezers. Put the washer right there. Okay, that looks good. Put the screw in the tweezers and get this precision driver ready, and put the precision driver on the screw, put that in the washer and start screwing, and that worked right the first time. Maybe it was the second time on that one. Okay. Alright, that's just sort of tight enough. I'm going to tighten those up later when we do the thread lock, but that's good enough for now. So the Z-bend is in and the arm is back in place. Okay, next step after getting the Z-bend on the arm of the servo is to put the jig back in place, and we'll see if all this worked. Okay. So now what we're looking for is that the jig is holding the elevator straight. We're going to inspect the clevis to see if it needs to be turned in or out slightly. And I think it needs to be turned maybe a half a turn. And let's see. No, I think it's fine. It's fine. Let me grab my flat bladed screwdriver. Turning that a half turn is possible, but you got to reach in here and turn it, and so hopefully you won't ever have to do that. So I'm going to open up the clevis here, drop it in the hole, and its clevis is locked on, and we're good to go. So clevis is on. I'm going to remove the jig so that we can now test. Okay. Let me go grab the radio. Kick the camera while I'm at it. And so now with the jig off, there's the throw. Okay. I'm going to turn the airplane back over. So that we can watch it from the top side here. Inspecting the elevator, it's kind of straight on one side, not straight on the other. Let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to see if we can see this. Okay. So what you can see here is the elevator is flat, straight right there, okay? And so if that's flat, then this is up a little. So we can adjust that with some sub trim to get it down, and if we need to, but I think I'm going to fly with it that way. And see if it may have a tendency to nose down a little, which is okay when you're flying, because then you can pull back on the stick and keep it up and trim it. You can see that that's flat all the way across, and this is good. Okay, so now I'll grab the radio and pull back on the stick. The elevator should go up, and it does, and go down, nose up, and that makes the nose go up, that makes the nose go down, and so we've got a functioning elevator with a Z-bend. Okay, and the last step is coming up. Okay, so the last step is to put the screws in, and I removed the receiver, turned off the radio and the receiver, and removed the leads from the two servos, and we will drop these in, and because there's a nice eyelet there, they're easy to drop in and start. And I've removed for the bottom one here, I have removed the wooden wedge because the airplane is actually tilted down and it shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to start each of the 4 screws, and I can see I don't know if you can or not. Let's see. Yeah, maybe you can. I can see the 4 holes that we drilled, and we put CA in them. And with that CA, it means that the holes will be a little harder to drill in. But that's what the electric precision screwdriver is for. Start number 2, and then start number 3 on this side. I can tell they're tight, which is good. You don't want these servos to be slopping around in there. And I probably should have taken a bit more of this off. I had to do over again. I meant to take it off right there where the hole was, and I didn't get it over far enough. And I could have rounded it, made it a little easier to get to the screws, but c'est la vie. Okay, so I'm going to do these first just in case I have any difficulties with them. Doesn't look like I will. Oops. Alright, let me get the precision drill driver in place. And tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to slide the camera this way, give you a bit of a side view. Alright, so the camera's there, you get a bit of a side view. Without my hand in the way. Okay. Now these batteries are pretty strong, which means that it's these are kind of tight. Okay, now let's see who's up. This one is still up some. A little tighter. Okay, this one's head is still up 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch I mean. This one looks like it's all the way down, but could be a bit tighter. Maybe a 1/4 turn. Good. He looks good. Alright, so that's not going anywhere. That's good and tight. I'm not going to do the other 4 screws on camera. Just because watching grooves go in is probably not that exciting. So I'm going to stop here and give you my conclusions in the next segment. Okay, excuse me, to conclude this video on the elevator pushrod installation. Thought it went well. Again, I did dry runs, came up with 21 steps to do, did them in order, checked them off on my computer as I did them one at a time. Slow and steady wins the race, and I'm not about building this as fast as I can. I'm going to build it at just the right speed to get the right perfect airplane as I can. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the next video.